Hello everybody! How's it going? Alecandstuff here, and in today's video, we're gonna get this soccer ball rolling, or football for my European viewers out there. We're gonna get this ball rolling and talk about the latest in Nintendo's line of sports-playing plumber simulators. Whew. Talk about a tongue twister on that one. Sports-playing plumber simulators, sports-playing plumber simulators. Anyway, we're talking about Mario Strikers Battle League, people. Now, as we all know, Nintendo has had a long history of making spin-off games like this one. I mean, you've got your golfs, you've got your hoops, you've got your tennis, and you've got your, horses? All of those categories aside, I think it's safe to say Mario has been around the block as far as sports go, though, in my opinion, none of them have ever come close to matching the style and personality that Mario Strikers has, specifically Mario Strikers Charged for the GameCube. This game just oozes personality. Everything from the visual style to the shaky camera for these post-goal animations, almost as if someone is on the field recording these moments, and then there's... Oh my god, this game is perfect. So I guess it goes without saying that, much like April's Nintendo Switch Sports, this game has had some pretty big shoes to fill, or cleats, if you will. That said, unfortunately, just like Nintendo Switch Sports, general reception to this new Mario Strikers seems to be pretty up in the air, with opinions coming in pretty mixed across the board. So, now that Battle League has been out in the wild for a little over a week now, I think I finally feel comfortable enough saying that I've logged enough hours, both on stream and off, to gather my own impressions on the game. Now, to kick things off here, why don't we start with the game itself? So, the game itself, right, the gameplay, the general mechanics and things like that, actually bears a lot of resemblance to series past. And obviously, it's, the last entry in this game was about 15 years ago or so. And honestly, I feel like even though we're using a lot of the same gameplay systems here, I feel like it still holds up pretty well. So that is generally a big positive for me because the game feels good. It feels really good to score hyper strikes and things like that. One thing that does kind of, it did take me by surprise, it's worth noting that this is actually my first Mario Strikers game that I've personally owned. One thing that did take me by surprise is just how violent this game is. So it's a little bit of a small nitpick, if you will. I just find it so frustrating sometimes whenever I'm getting ready to set up for a goal and everything's falling into place and, Boom Boom's taken by surprise, he's on the ground and I'm about to kick and then someone from the enemy team just, decks me. Clotheslines me, I'm on the ground, or if you're Peach, you fly up into the air. It's so annoying, and honestly, it's not that big of a deal because it's obviously just part of the gameplay, but I just felt like I'd mention it. It happens to me so many times! So, anyways, the game feels good, it runs great, and moving on, beyond that, obviously, we've also got just a lot of the visual style and things like that, right? That to go along with that gameplay, and honestly, just as surprising as it was for me to observe just how satisfying and how nice the game feels and runs and everything, I'm also equally surprised at how much of a lack of personality this game has compared to a lot of its predecessors. I mean, we talked a little bit about it in the intro and stuff like that with all the post-goal animations and the game just feeling really dirty and gritty, right? This game, it feels super produced and super clean by comparison, right? Which isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's definitely a creative choice. But for a company, for a developer, I should say, like Next Level Games, right? Who brought us Luigi's Mansion, this game, and tons of others that have just this really amazing level of quality as far as visual fidelity goes and animations and stuff like that. It's kind of surprising to me to feel like this almost is the outlier, right? As far as the whole entire Strikers franchise as a whole goes. So that was a little bit of a letdown for me. Definitely a negative in my experience because I feel like I was just expecting more. Again, it doesn't really take away from the gameplay because the gameplay itself is still really solid. It's just, it could have used that extra visual flair, that extra personality that the Striker series is known for at this point. And I feel like that's what a lot of people are buying this game for, right? Because they know the games from the GameCube and Wii era, and they're looking for more of that. And while it does have a lot of that in some ways, I feel like, personality and visual style and stuff like that is just not part of that. So anyway, moving on beyond visual style and things like that, we can also talk about how despite the personality factor being a bit lacking, the game itself overall just looks gorgeous. And I think, I touched on this a little bit just now, but I think this game is as good of a demonstration as any as to just how good Next Level Games, sorry, is when it comes to animation and cinematics. I mean, some of my favorite moments from this game, even from my first YouTube stream that I did a couple, almost 2 weeks ago, some of my favorite moments were just seeing all of the different animations for all the characters' hyper strikes and all of the intro cinematics for, whenever you spawn into the world and your team captain kind of does this little entrance. For instance, Rosalina does this cool little teleporting through a portal and just royally very, very, what would you even call it? She's just very styled in how she floats into the course, and it's very cosmic in a way, which definitely matches her character in a lot of ways. And all of these characters have that for their hyper strikes and for their intro animations and even for their win animations. Whenever you actually win the game overall, each team captain, or thus each character, has their own specific animations to go along with that. And I still haven't seen all of them. I still haven't seen a lot of Donkey Kongs. I still haven't seen a lot of, I think, Luigi's as well. So there's still stuff yet to be discovered for me. And that's going to be one of the things that I look forward to moving forward, is just seeing all of these really amazing cinematics. So big props to Next Level Games on that front. Anyway, all the graphics and fidelity aside, I promise this is the last we're talking about it, we can go ahead and move on to the actual multiplayer of this game, right? So, obviously, one of the big selling points for a lot of people is, all new Mario Strikers, right? This is 4-on-4. That means that I can grab, 7 other friends for a total of 8 of us, and we can fight on the couch or online, which is one of the things that I admittedly thought, right? And it's, if I can say that with as big of a Nintendo fan as I am, that I thought this to be the case, I'm sure there's a metric ton of other people that were probably under the same impression as well. And this is also talked about on Nintendo's website, weirdly enough, but if you keep reading and see the small text and stuff like that, you'll find that that dream scenario of grabbing a total of, you and 7 other friends going online and fighting 4-on-4 is just not the case, right? This was a bit of a rude awakening whenever myself and some of the folks from Good Vibes Gaming, we all got online to try and do a little bit of a faux tournament style bracket, gameplay between all of us, right? And there was a total of 8 of us. We were very rudely awakened by the fact that this is just not possible. The thing that Nintendo harps on with the online is that you can have a total of up to 8 people, right? So what this means, practically speaking, is that you and a total of 3 others, this is kind of hard to explain, a total of 3 other Switch consoles, meaning in grand total, if you have 4 Switch consoles, you can do 8-player online between the 4 of those consoles, but you can't do it with 8 Switches in their own, right? So basically what this means is if you and a friend team up with another friend and their friend, and another friend and their friend, and another friend and their friend, and you all have 4 Switches amongst each other, you kind of see where this is going. Everybody has to have their own couch co-op player on the system, and a total of 2 per system. So, in a sense, you can have that, but it's so confusing, right? Because this is such the perfect opportunity, I feel like, to have that sort of dream scenario and, 4-on-4 proper online. That would be so cool. And I'm not a game developer by any means, but I'm just really baffled by the idea that this is not something that's included in the game, right? And it's not something that I'm going to knock it for either. Like I said, I mean, there's plenty of fun to be had in the single player, playing against computers, playing against online friends. And you can even, big props to Nintendo for this too, you can also search for a game online with a friend and still play against random people, which is just great. I wish more of Nintendo games did that. This is one of the biggest ones to my recent memory that allows you to do something like that. So I'm glad that they included it here. I'm just sad, and it feels like it's missing that huge moment, right, where you grab all those friends and just play against, 4v4 online. I might be harping on it a little bit, but that's partially because I felt a little burned whenever all of us got together. We had to basically just cut each session in half and only play with 4 people per session. And for as chaotic as the games are, it just made me wish that you could even amp that up even more. Because imagine, right, if you were in a 4v4 how chaotic it would be to have 4 individual players on each side of the field, individually controlled by one person, and just like adding all that to the chaos. It'd be so, that would be so cool. Hopefully at some point in the future, Nintendo hears our criticisms as far as this goes, and maybe pushes this out through some sort of like post-launch game update. I don't even know if that's possible, but hey, if anybody at Nintendo's listening, and Reggie, I know Reggie follows me on Twitter. You guys roast me for talking about this a lot. Maybe we can get something to happen like that. I don't know. I can dream, right? So, anyway, speaking as far as multiplayer goes, there's actually a pretty I will say healthy amount of characters to start in this game's roster, right? So one of the big talking points leading up to this game's release was a lot of people noticed that Daisy was missing in a lot of the game's trailers and overviews and stuff like that. And it turns out they were right. And so I guess in a sort of way to sort of temper people's expectations and kind of let the community as a whole know what to expect from this game moving forward, Nintendo did put out a tweet that did say, I don't have it in front of me, it did say something along the lines of, hey, this game is going to be getting post-launch updates in the future. We're going to be adding upwards of 10 characters. I believe they said 10. And, look forward to that after the game is launched. So this is something that Nintendo has really committed to for the Switch era of Mario sports games and, a couple of other games as well. And it's that post-launch update model. And I can go on and on about the pros and cons of doing it this way versus, just having all this stuff ready and like launching it the way that the game was intended to be fully completed whenever it's ready, launch it that way, right? So I could talk about the pros and cons of both. And honestly, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of opinion. I personally am of the mind that I would much prefer if this game were to come out just a little later, right? And by the time it comes out, all of the characters that were ever planned to be included are included, right? So I think it's safe to say that in regards to Mario Strikers, about a year from now is probably going to be the best time to pick up the game, because by then, a lot of the game's major updates and characters will already be out. The contrary to that is a lot of the player base is already going to have left and started playing, whatever is out a year from now, right? Hopefully Metroid Prime 4, Zelda Breath of the Wild 2, that kind of stuff. So, it's... some people prefer it this way, some people don't. I mean, like I said, I kind of miss the days where you would buy a game like this, you would take it home, and part of the fun would be sort of playing through the game and just unlocking characters as they come, right? Which maybe that makes me sound like a boomer in some way. I mean, I don't know, but it's just my personal preference. So there's not to say that there's something wrong with the way Nintendo's doing it now. It's just something I figured I'd mention because I feel like some people might find it a little odd to boot up the game and only have, this small, I'll include a screenshot here, this small little pool of characters, which are arguably pretty solid. I like that they're including Rosalina here. I like that she's getting a lot more prominence in games past. And I also like that they include Toad. So there's a couple of, pretty pleasant surprises here. But like I said, about a year from now is probably where we're going to see a lot more of the roster finally feel fleshed out and feel complete in a way, right? So anyway, I just feel like this is definitely something that will affect player retention in the long run. But still holding out for PD Piranha, though. I can't give up on that dream. Anyways, the game itself, right? So I think that was my last bullet point. The game itself. How do we describe this? How do we come to terms with what exactly is going on with this game, right? The game itself, I feel like, is great. Like I said earlier, a lot of the core systems and mechanics at play are fantastic. The game feels good, and it's just awesome landing a Hyper Strike and perfectly landing it on that blue little part of the gauge and just making it perfect, and then watching Boom Boom try to save it, and then it just goes whizzing past him, and then your team gets an extra 2 points, and it just, like, there's a lot of stuff like that. Or, on the contrary side of things, right, it's so satisfying making that last second play and seeing someone else on the other team that's about to score or like about to make the game-winning pass, and then you're there to just tackle them, get them out of the way. It's just There's so much fun in the chaos, right, with this game, and that is just, I feel like, the best part of the whole experience. The only thing is just the surrounding content and the multiplayer features that feel a little lacking as far as all that goes, and as a result, I feel like it brings the whole experience down just a few notches. And if you ask me, as somebody, like I said earlier, who this is their first Mario Strikers game, I just feel like I'm missing something, right? So the game itself is really, really fun and it's awesome. I just feel like I'm missing a lot of the characters and a lot of the, gritty, dirty, down on the field and like do-it-yourself personality that a lot of the past Mario Strikers games had. And it's not to say I'm not having a good time, it's just, I think my friend Tom said it best whenever we were streaming this game just a few days ago. Do you recommend this game to anybody that's on the fence about it now? To which he said, somebody asked me in chat just now, should I buy Mario Strikers? And I'm curious what everyone here's opinion is on that.
If you have friends that are going to play it with you, yes.
Yes.
That's a good answer.
But of course, those are just my thoughts on the game. And before we go, I'd like to pass the question over to you guys. What are your thoughts on Mario Strikers Battle League so far? Are you enjoying it, or is this one of those games that you feel like you'll likely pass on for now? Also, which character do you hope makes it to the roster at some point? I am personally hoping for Petey Piranha or Daisy. I love those two. So, anyway. Feel free to leave your thoughts down in the comments below. Like and subscribe if you're new. I'd love to discuss with you guys. Anyways, with all of that said, and without further ado, there's only one thing left to say before we take off. And that is, of course, as always, I'm Soccer and Stuff. Do your best out there. I'm rooting for you. And I will see you all again in the next video. All right? Okay. That's it. Get out of here. Bye!
Hi there! Thank you for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, feel free to hit the like button. Subscribe if you want to see more, and hopefully we'll see each other again in the next video. Bye!